Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have Kalisha Carter with us today. She's raised millions of dollars as a capital raiser, and she's going to teach. Today, we get the secret sauce. How do you raise capital for co-living? How do you not just raise capital for co-living, but how do you get into a place where you can use other people's money to accelerate your scaling process faster in the journey, even of long-term buy and holds? Now, I'll be honest, some of the things she shared today were aha moments for me and kind of got me thinking like more creatively just about like, okay, wait, how can I use other people's money? I'm one of those guys that's like, well, no, I'll make my own money and then invest in my own deals. And, but man, how much faster could you go? Or what kind of, the way she puts it is, what kind of opportunities could you provide other people by giving them an opportunity to invest in your deal? Absolutely brilliant. Enjoy the episode. What I love about this episode is she's going to break it down with real life examples. She's going to give you specific training and walk you through her secret sauce, her secret way of doing this step by step. Go enjoy, have fun, and let me know what you think of the episode in the comments, please. Kalisha, so great to have you on the show. I'm really excited to have you on here because, I feel like me and a buddy were talking the other day and we were saying that like anybody that we admire that is like had huge success in business, and not just in real estate, but in business or in real estate, has used some version of other people's money in a pretty big capacity. One of my heroes right now is this guy named Ray Dalio. He's just he runs the largest hedge fund in the world. And I was like, man, like he has made his billions from managing and doing well using other people's money. So you're a capital raiser. Tell us, what does that mean? What does it mean to be a capital raiser?
As the name suggests, money. So whenever I'm like your go-to person, whenever you need capital or funds for your project, whether you're doing a fix and flip or rental, it's always good to know how to raise capital. So you might hear that term a lot of times and be like, it's scary. But it's really like, who do you know who has capital sitting down and you can take that money and utilize that capital to invest so you can grow your portfolio as well, or you can acquire more rental properties, whether it's renovating or even like literally bridging the gap. Right. So if you're able to capital raise, someone who has money, but you also know a friend or another investor who needs money, and you can make that connection. So capital raise is just knowing who has capital and how can you deploy that capital safely and connect the dots.
One of the biggest objections I get when I talk about capital raising is like, well, I don't know anybody, someone that maybe wants to be a capital raiser, or maybe they want to raise money for a deal. They'll say something like, I don't know anybody with money. Mm-hmm. How did you get over that? Did you have that same belief before you started raising capital? And how did you get over that?
When I got into capital raising, I had the feeling that this is something that I wanted to do because I've heard about it on Bigger Pockets about using other people's money. But with my background coming from Jamaica, I didn't know anyone who has money. 20,000 USD, it's a lot of money, right? It still is. So I'm like, I don't know anyone in my network who will give me money. So yes, I did have that mindset. Still do sometimes, which is crazy. But I think one way how to get over it is the first time when I was doing my official capital raise, I call it, and I was looking for $50,000 and I put the deals together. I presented the opportunity to the person and they were like, yeah, I'm in. And I was like, wait, what? Like,
yes. Said yes.
They're like, yes. I was like, wow. And you just said yes to 50,000 like that. And what that has taught me is that when someone has capital that they want to deploy, they want to give it to someone who they believe will use it wisely, who knows what they're doing. So you have to confidently show that you are able to use that person's money, and you have to treat other people's money as if it's your own. So even if you can be a super experienced investor, but if you can show that, hey, if I take this money, I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do with it, and I'm going to pay you back on time. So that's what anyone who's giving you money wants to know.
Yeah. And how do you convince someone of that? Like, is it at the end of the day, is it, I think we've all heard the phrase like, hey, first of all, it has to be someone that, knows, likes, and trusts you. Is that true? And what can you do? Let's say you want to raise capital for your next rental or your next co-living deal, right? Maybe take us a little bit through how you would do that as a capital raiser. Give us some of your secret sauce. What are your steps to getting to that point? and maybe for someone that's just starting that process?
So I'm going to give two ways. So if you're just starting out, I would say you want to go out there and you want to connect with people who are, what do you say? People who are, I just lost my train of thought. Oh my gosh.
Like know, like, and trust you, or?
Yes. So
Yeah.
if you're completely new, right, you want to go to your friends and like your inner circle. Like,
Right,
hey,
right.
this is what I'm doing. You've seen me. I've been learning. I've been going to conferences. I've been looking for properties. This is the goal and the vision of where I want to go. Would you like to partner with me on this deal? Here's an opportunity. I'm thinking I want to purchase this property. I want to renovate it and sell it. Would you like to partner with me on it? I have the skills, the expertise. I'm building the team. I have the knowledge. Come in with me as a capital partner. You'll bring the capital and you can learn along the way. Or maybe you just want to be completely passive. So that's how I would approach it if I was completely new. Now, if you're an experienced investor, what has helped me is that as an experienced investor, you have past projects. Share on your Facebook past project or have like a portfolio. It's going to be like your resume. Because if you go to someone about, hey, I need money, they want to know, who are you? Are you actually legit? Are you saying that? Are you actually in real estate? So they're going to either Google you, they're either going to go on your Facebook, on your Instagram, wherever they can find information about you just to validate your credibility. What has helped me is that in different masterminds and communities that I'm a part of, I'm very active. So I provide value, I make posts, I share what I'm doing. And then people in those same communities can always go back and see things that I post and be like, okay, you're legit, right? You know your stuff. I trust you to a point to give you money, but also my confidence as well with explaining the deal that I'm doing. Like, hey, like I'm not gonna bullshit you or whatever it is, right? But I'm saying this is what, like, I'm being transparent. This is what I need your money for. This is how long I need it. Now, there's gonna be a possibility I may lose your money. If there's a 1% chance that I lose your money and you don't get it back, will you be able to pay your bills? Would you be able to cover expenses? All those things. So you be super transparent and upfront. Don't sugarcoat anything. And I think that's why a lot of lenders like working with me as well, because I'm not going to sugarcoat. I'm not going to tell you, oh my God, this is a great deal. Duh, I know it's a great deal.
Yeah, there's
That's
zero
why-
risk.
yeah.
Zero risk. It's like, that's not true. There's risk.
There is risk and there's
Yeah.
a possibility they're going to lose it. My goal is, if I take your money, I want to be able to like return it safely and as quickly as possible so you can keep reinvesting. So if you're an experienced investor as well, like the work that you've done, that's your credibility. It's a proven track record. You've done it. Use that as leverage to raise even more money.
I'm reminded, I think it was Warren Buffett who said the first rule of investing is don't lose your principal. And then the second rule of investing is see rule number one.
Yeah.
So like I love that. It's like, you're like, hey, I'm going to take care of the principal. Like that's
Yeah.
at the very least, obviously we want interest and we want all this stuff on top of that. But like, I'm going to protect this investment.
As if you're-
I also really like what you're saying about let me see if I can repeat it how you said it. You said your social media is like your resume. And I think the younger generation gets that to a large extent because like we're just like used to Googling people and looking on social media. But maybe sometimes the older generation we all need to realize that, you know, I tell people when they join my community, I say, hey, look, start posting that you're in the community, start posting your deals, start posting. So that way, when you ask, again, I'm rephrasing what you brilliantly already said, but that way, when you ask, it's like, this isn't the first time. I've already known you're into this. I've already seen your stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
One of my guys put it this way. He said, dig your well before you're thirsty. I thought that was so good.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
So why don't people do that more? I think is what I want to ask you. Like, why don't
They're
what
scared.
holds people back from doing that? And any advice on just what someone should start posting in their resume specifically?
Man, they're scared. I'm not an expert. I don't have a fancy video editor. I don't have the time. I don't know anything about social media. And the list goes on, right? Or I don't know what to post, right? And I always tell a person, like, open your phone. And I guarantee you, you've sat on a Zoom in a mastermind that you're part of. You've been to a conference. You've been to a real estate meetup. You've walked a property. You have videos and pictures of those. Post it. Post what you did. Oh, I'm on this Zoom and this is what I'm learning about. Oh, I'm at this conference and this is what I'm learning about. The goal is you should go in with the focus of, I want to build my online presence. I just want to be visible. The goal shouldn't be when you're starting out, I want likes, I want views, I want followers. That will come. It will truly come. But once you're consistent with just putting it out there. And another thing too, they think I need to be active on every social media platform. I need to be on TikTok. No, choose one or two that you're super comfortable with, right? And start from there. And as you start growing and you get more comfortable, like, oh, now I can venture out into doing Instagram. Now I can venture out and doing to more videos, but use the content that you have and just post the stuff. Like the fear, it will always be there. I still hate social media to a point where I don't like recording myself with videos because I need it to be perfect. Like, so each time you're growing, when your online presence starts growing, you're still gonna get that same feeling. But the goal is to just put the content out there and let it work for you.
That's so gold. Yeah. I wrote down a couple of notes even for me on that. I'll sometimes be like, oh, I'm not going to post that, or maybe that was too vulnerable or something like that. But I think you hit a lot of the really great points that hold people back from that.
And the crazy thing is the point when you are super like vulnerable, when the content is not perfect, those are the content that gets the most engagement. Those are the contents where people relate to you. You inspire more people. But then sometimes the content you spend so much time editing, it doesn't get anything. And you're like, wait, I was myself. So before, persons would like worry about, oh my God, I need to have the right outfit. I need to put on makeup. It got to a point where like, I don't care. I'm actually I would come from the gym sweaty, a cap on and everything. I was like, boom, I have an idea. Let me just take on my phone and record this video. And I would just post it. And that's the first step. And like person will get so much more engaged. They'll be like, oh my God, you don't have the fear about makeup and your hair. And I was like, no, I'm being myself. I want whoever you see online, when you meet me in person, you're getting the same person.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah. Well said. That's great for me too. And I hope, it's, I think when people actually take that advice and actually do it, I even tell people sometimes, like, because some people are like, well, I'm not good with social media or video or whatever. I'm like, do you have like some email addresses you can send like a newsletter to? Like, if you can just get like, this is what I'm doing, guys, update on life. It helps when you come back around later to ask for capital. Let's get into the weeds of like, how do you, let's say you're coaching me, Kalisha. I know you do some coaching, which is really cool. You do you give away some free stuff and have some coaching, which we'll link in the show notes here. But like, let's say I want to ask, I got a co-living deal. I got a deal I want to do, and I need some capital, whether that's for the down payment, whether that's, for bridge funding, like we talked about. We'll talk about those different things in a minute. But how do I ask?
Good question. And let's say you want to ask that question, the first thing you want to make sure you have information together. So you're doing a co-living, or let's say you're buying a co-living. I want to see, what's the property address? How are you planning to acquire this property? Are you using a DSCR loan? Are you buying this subject to seller financing? What are the costs involved with purchasing this property? Are you going to renovate this property? How much does it cost? When you're finished renovating, what do you think that the property will be worth, right? How much do you think you can rent the property out for? What would be your expenses? What the estimated cash flow? I want to see that deal breakdown. And I want you to put that together in something called a pitch deck. In that pitch deck, you have the acquisition, how you plan to acquire it, how the property plan to make money. In that pitch deck, you also have, who are you, right? A picture of you would be amazing, not a selfie with you holding the phone in your hand, but just a picture of you and something just to show what your experience is, right? Your track record, how many deals have you done? And then at the end of the pitch deck, you want to share with, how is a person's money protected? Okay, if I give you this $50,000 for 6 months, one, show how do you plan to repay me that $50,000? How do you plan to protect my money? Are you giving me a promissory note, a mortgage, a joint venture? Are you adding me to your LLC? What are some of the risk involved? Like if you're not able to repay me back in the 6 or 8 months that you said, what is plan A or B? Put that all together in a pitch deck. And let's say you have 10 people within your network. Friends, family, coworkers, take that pitch deck and you share it with them. Whether it's in an email, it's a text message. I personally like to use Canva, and Canva gives me like a public view link. So I always use that link that I share, and I would just text person. So a lot of lenders in my phone, once they're a lender, I label them PML. So I would go through my phone and type PML and start sending them that text message with the link. Hey, I have this opportunity. Would you be interested in it? Here's the link. If it's easier, I could send it to you in an email as well. And I just keep sending persons that list, sending out email. I do email blasts as well. You don't have to have any fancy software. If you have 20 people, right? BCC that 20 people in Gmail and just send them that link as well. If you are on Facebook in different communities as well, take a screenshot of that pitch deck. Hey guys, I have this opportunity. Who would be interested or know anyone that would be interested? Here is a deal breakdown. That says a lot about you, that you're serious and you're not just saying, I need $20,000 for 12 months at 10%. What's the details? What do you need that money for? And it helps you to even raise more money, because one person may not have the funds right away. They may be getting funds back in like 2 weeks, but they're going to be like, oh my God, I saw your pitch deck. I love how you presented the info. I have money coming back to you, coming back soon. Reach out to me in 2 weeks. So in you presenting that information, raising capital for that particular deal, you're now raising money for future deals as well.
I love that. Kind of going back to our previous point of like, you're still building your resume as you're putting deals out, because people are like, okay, wow, look, they did do their homework. I had someone recently send me a deal and it was very unorganized. They wanted to raise some capital for it. And it was like, there was no numbers. There was no pitch deck. There was like, I didn't even have good expenses. And when I looked at the expenses, I was like, hey, I think they're wrong. Like, I knew enough about this deal to know that the numbers are wrong. And they were like, oh yeah, I would raise that by like, X number of dollars. And I was like, so just, yeah. So, okay. What do you think about that? Tell us that. What does that expression mean? And do you see that a lot in your industry?
I see that a lot, and people will be like, Kalisha, but it's a good deal. And I'm like, think about it. I always like tell other investors, like, let's take away us not knowing about real estate. If someone comes to you about investing in crypto, you don't know anything about crypto. But if someone gives you details and you want to understand, if I invest in crypto, how do I get my money back? How does this work? I don't need to know about fancy crypto terms. As a lender who doesn't know anything about real estate investing, present them an opportunity. Like, you want them to understand the information that you put in front of them. So, and like a baby should be able to understand, right? How much money do I need? Like, be upfront. No real estate. How much money do you need? How long do you need it for? What will my money be used for? What's the rate of return? Any person who has capital, whether they're experienced in real estate or not, they're going to ask those same questions. So when you present the pitch deck as well, I always reread my entire pitch deck and I put it in a present view. Okay, if I'm a lender and I'm completely new, let me read through this and see if I understand it. Do I have to keep thinking or assuming that this is what the investor is trying to say? And if you start having second thoughts, rewrite everything. You want to break it down. Sometimes we do fancy Excel sheets and screenshot that Excel sheet. Lenders don't understand that. They just want to know, if I give you my money, how do I get it back? How is it protected? So I definitely get that a lot. And when I start breaking things down, that's something that we do on the weekly calls that I share with persons. I would go through my pitch decks and they'll be like, Kalisha, I'm raising capital for this deal, but I'm not getting any traction. And I was like, what do you got? Oh, nothing. Oh, I have a pitch deck. And then they give me a pitch deck and it's a bunch of fluff. Or if it's not a bunch of fluff, it's just not clear. It's too much real estate jargons, which gonna make an investor be like, this is too much. I have to figure this out on my own. I'm not interested. Your pitch deck is there to make it easier for your lender to make a decision. Present all the facts in one place for them to go and do their due diligence and verify if the information is correct.
Well said. Brilliant. What do you say to someone who wants to raise capital and they're saying, what if I don't have a track record? Like, I need capital for my first deal, but like I actually don't have a solid track record.
I love that, man. So I'm going to use from my personal experience. When I just started, I didn't have a track record at all, and what I did was I would just tell persons like, I want to get into real estate. I don't know how, but this is the goal. I'm in this restaurant job right now, but the goal is this is where I want to go. They saw my transition of me learning. They saw me put in the effort of listening to podcasts, reading books, and every chance I got, I was talking about investing in real estate. Everyone that I met, oh, what's your plan? What do you want to do? Oh, I want to get into real estate investing. So I did that. And I was posting my journey on social media. Now, because I was posting it on Instagram and Facebook, family and friends are like, okay, you've been consistent at this for a year, right? I believe in you. This is something that I would like to get into as well, but I'm trusting you because you're the younger person and you know what you're doing. So, and that's because I was just showing what my goal is, what I want to do, and family and friends felt comfortably enough to say, hey, here's the money, go invest. So a lot of times when you're starting out, your friends and family is going to be your best bet. Now, sometimes from what I've heard, it's going to be tough getting friends and family in, right? So that's where you presenting, doing a pitch deck is going to be crucial, because a lot of times a stranger will give you more money than a family and friend member, right? So putting the item together, I remember the first time I raised $290,000 from Facebook in 2 days. I've never met this guy ever. I was doing a deal here in St. Petersburg, and we had a lender that backed out of the deal last minute. I think it was like 2 or 3 days before Christmas. Did a bunch in our community, just reaching out, and someone referred me to that lender. And I reached out and I said, hey, someone referred me to you that you might be a lender and you're lending on real estate projects. I have an investment opportunity for you. Would you be interested? I can share you the details. Now, I didn't just go to him and be like, hey, I need $290,000 in 2 days. I didn't do that. And then when he said, yeah, sure, send me the details, I had a pitch deck. And I send it to him. Here's the opportunity. Let me know if you have any questions. Long story, full disclosure, I had a lender that backed out. I can show you screenshots to show that they were committed. Closing is in 2 days. If this is something you want to move forward with, or we can hop on a phone call, let me know. He reviewed it, Sam, and I kid you not, he got on the phone and he's like, I love your presentation, how you put it together. You made it so easy for me to do my due diligence, so I could look on the deal to decide if I want to invest in you or not. The next thing I did after I reviewed your pitch deck, I went into the community to see how active you were. I did some research on you as well. So I saw you posted on your personal Facebook, your journey into real estate and the things that you've done. So it made me feel comfortable. This person was on vacation with his family in Christmas and managed to get his partner on the line. We closed on the deal right. I think we got the call a Thursday and we had to close the Tuesday because the Monday was a holiday. And this guy lent me $290,000 because, one, I had the deck. Like, you guys might think it's so simple, but you want to put your information together because you want to make it easier for someone to tell you yes.
Wow, that's amazing. What was it? Yeah, what feeling did you get when you raised that in 2 days? Just out of curiosity.
Man, I was sitting right here and I was so stressed out because the $50,000, we initially borrowed a $50,000 for earnest money deposit. And I was like, if we don't pay that back, we're out of pocket to pay that $50,000. So it was nerves, stressed out. This is Christmas. No one wants to do business a few days before Christmas. People are with family. But what that has taught me is whatever it is that you're doing, push until you get to the finish line. Like push. Like I could have be like, this is Christmas, I'm done. No one's going to fund it. But I was like, I have time. Just keep marketing, keep sharing, keep reaching out to people nonstop. Because you're going to reach out to someone and they're going to tell you no, but they're going to point you in the direction of someone else. And that's exactly what happened. And when that person told me yes, and when he spoke to his partner and he said yes, let's get paperwork started. I was like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, let's get paperwork. You need to get this money by Tuesday. We're working Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Damn.
And I was like, every time I tell the story to him all the time. And I was like, dude, you have no idea how much you saved me and gave me the confidence to keep raising private capital.
That's beautiful. That reminds me of something. I had a mentor who would always tell me, he said, Sam, you never have a money problem. You never have any problem. He said, you only always have a relationship problem. He's like, you are one relationship away from whatever that is, the 290,000, a deal being closed, and so just this story that you just told really reminds me of that's beautiful. But when would you coach someone to say, hey, it's just not a good deal? Like, is there a certain number of like, hey, I reached out to 100 people and like, ain't nobody taking me up on my offer? Or like, is there a feeling? Because I get the pushing, right? I get the like, hey, like it's Christmas and it's a Friday. It's a Friday over Christmas. That's crazy, by the way. Now that I think about that, it's a weekend on Christmas. Like, yes, it's possible. But when would you just say, hey, you need to stop trying to raise for this deal?
I've only done that when I start raising, we do our underwriting and it's solid. But then when we start hearing similar feedback from different lenders, be like, oh, this comp isn't accurate. Like, how are you getting this? Or it's the same concern from different lenders. We will restructure the entire deal. And if we can't restructure the entire deal, then we back out. We've also had times where like, it's still a good deal, but you're pushing. But what I've learned is it could be a good deal, but the timing is not right. So everyone who would love to invest in a deal, maybe their capital is deployed or there's a delay for them to get their money back. Because I've had that a lot of times where people be like, oh my God, I want to invest in this deal, but I have money coming back in a week. And I was like, that will be too late. I can't. Then you have times where if the deal is good and a lender who be like, let's say I'm offering 12% return. And the lender's like, the only way I'll do this is if you give me like 20%. And I was like, am I gonna just give that 20% or give up? Right? So this is where I look on what does the deal allows me to do? Does the deal allows me to pay 12% in interest? Does the deal allow me to pay 20% in interest as well? So, and then I've told lenders no as well. So sometimes I believe that the deal is good and lenders want more. And I tell them no, like, hey, like I would love to work with you, but this just won't work for me as well. If that means me losing on a deal, so be it. I'll lose it.
Yeah.
Then dig myself in a hole. Yeah.
Help me around one of my limiting beliefs around capital raising. Like I get the idea of like, okay, like I just did a private loan to a friend so she could flip a property. Right? Like that makes sense to me. She needed it for 6 months, from beginning to end. Like that makes sense. Or bridge debt or like maybe I'm raising for some bridge debt. I need to close on it in 2 days, but then I'm going to refinance out into a big loan. But maybe one of my beliefs is like, and I coach a lot of investors who are like, well, they're not so much into the quick transactions with real estate. They want to buy real estate. They want to hold it for a long time, as long as they possibly can. They want to get the depreciation benefits on their taxes, and they want to get any cash flow they can get from this property, right? And in co-living or room rentals, as some people call it, you can get great returns if you do it right. And so one of my limiting beliefs around capital raising is like, well, I can go to these private money lenders and I can get short-term debt, but I could probably never get like long-term debt that I would need. So I just kind of buy things a lot more traditionally. Am I justified in thinking that way? Should I be thinking about it a different way? Maybe someone who's listening to this has that same kind of thought process. How should I be thinking about that? And I guess really the direct question is like, how can I use capital raising strategies to help me accelerate my long-term rental portfolio and build it even faster?
So that's a great question. And I would challenge you to ask yourself, how many properties do I want to acquire each year? Do I want to scale? Am I just doing this for fun? Do I want to do this full time? Do I like my W-2 and I'm already a landlord? Do I want to buy more properties so I can continue to be a landlord? Because if you are okay growing slowly at your own pace, and you're maybe using other people's money is not for you. If you found your niche, like I want to buy 1 to 2 rentals a year, and you can do that the traditional way. And if you're okay with that, then good. But if you're like, I want to build my real estate portfolio, not in 10 years, not in 5 years. I want to start now. I see opportunity, so many great deals, and I don't have capital to deploy because of credit and this and that. Then I would highly suggest using other people's money. Now, you got to look on with using other people's money. You are providing opportunity to them. You're providing an opportunity to them to make money, right? Another way, especially, I'm going to use this example of co-living. Let's say you're buying 5 co-living at once and you're like, you need $100,000. Now, if you take that $100,000, you may have to take it for 12 months. At the end of 12 months, you're like, would my co-living cash flow be $100,000? Most cases, no. So then you're going to have, at the end of 12 months, you now have to find another lender to come in to repay that $100,000. And the cycle just keeps going. Whereas you can let that person know, hey, if you come in with $100,000, I know you want equity. I know you want cash flow. I know you want tax depreciation. How about you come into this partnership, and what you bring to this partnership is $100,000, and I'll give you a percentage. So out of the 100% ownership, instead of me owning 100%, I'll give you 15%. I'll give you 20% of this ownership. So that way you will also get the cash flow from it. And as long as I own this property, right, you will benefit from the tax depreciation from it. You will benefit from the rental income of it. Another way to get super creative, let's say this person with 100,000 also have a W-2. Like, let's say they're a nurse or a doctor, so they pay a lot of taxes. You can say, hey, I'll give you 20% ownership on paper, but for the first year or two, I'll give you 30 or 40% on paper on your K1. So that way, instead of you writing off 20%, I'll write off 40%. And firstly, guys, I'm not giving you guys any legal advice. These are just things that I've done personally. But that's how you can create win-win situations for your lenders. And they're like, oh, wow, that makes sense. At least that investor is not thinking, oh man, 100,000 in, when am I going to get my money back? But you're creating win-win because they're building their portfolio. They're making cash flow from it. Now, most times they're completely silent, but they're benefit from taxes and they don't have to deal with tenants.
Right.
So that's a great way to get in.
I like that. So what I hear you saying is, like, think about it more as a joint venture if you want someone long term. Yes. Than a quick raise and switch. I love that. And I did actually recently ask my accountant, and again, we're not giving accountant, we're not accountants, but like I did ask him, I said, hey, if I'm in a partnership, so I own some short-term rentals with 2 other guys, and we were able to like sign a document and allocate 100% actually of the depreciation to our buddy, because he got the loan. So for him getting the loan, the trade was he gets the loan and he gets all the depreciation in the first few years. And all we had to do was sign it out of our partnership. And it was pretty easy. So you can reallocate the depreciation, the tax benefits to one person. And again, like check into with an accountant and a lawyer on details on that. But yeah, super cool.
Yeah, it makes it easier. It's all about like creating win-win situations. There's no one shoe, one hat fits it all, whatever that saying is.
Yeah,
but like,
no one size fits all, right?
One size fits all, yes. Yeah. But it's really like, ask that person, like, what do you truly want? Like a lot of us, we fail to ask, like, what the person with the capital, what do you want? Why do you want to get into real estate? What are you trying to do? right? And then from there, you look on whatever opportunity that you have and be like, how can I create a win-win situation for that person who's bringing capital and for me as well, who's getting involved in the deal? Like, and you got to remember is when you get into a partnership, you guys are writing whatever that works for you. Like it could be anything. It could be this partner is allowed to stay at the property. Let's say it's a short-term rental. This partner is allowed to stay at the property for 2 weeks for free during the slow season if it's not booked. Like you can literally put anything in writing. I will only consult this partner if I'm going to do major repairs over $20,000. Apart from that, the partner B agrees to be completely silent and I'm managing the day-to-day operations.
Right, right.
We just overthink it. That's why you consult an attorney.
Dang.
Yeah.
It's fun. I think it's fun when you start getting that creative and you start thinking about that. Let's transition a little bit to the lending side of things. If I'm the one doing the lending, we've kind of been talking about up until this point, like some of the pros, some of the cons, some of the ways, some of the strategies on how to raise private capital. And frankly, I think you just gave a little mini masterclass there for the last 30 minutes. That was great.
Thank you.
That was really great. And hopefully anybody listening to this can take away some specific action items from that. Even if it's just like, I need my homework. I need to create a pitch deck. And I think it's an aha for some people, Kalisha, just to be thinking like, oh, and I know this sounds so basic to you because you're in the space, but like there are private money lenders. Because it's funny, you refer to them as lenders. You're just like, I talked to this lender. But truthfully, when I think of a lender, I think of like a bank.
Yeah.
But you don't.
You don't. No.
I do. You don't, right? Because it's like I'm like, oh, really? You talk to a bank? You're like, no, I talked to a lender. You're like, oh, those are different. And that's an aha moment for me of like you're so in this world, you come from abundance when it comes to money. You're like, I could be a lender. You could be a lender. The guy that I meet on Facebook could be a lender. I mean, like, right? Tell us how you think about that. I mean, like anybody can be a lender to you, right?
Anybody, like when I just got into raising capital, I used to think that private money lenders were only like CPAs, attorneys, doctors. But then the more people I met, I'm like, really, like anybody could be a lender. Anybody sitting on 30,000 who want to make money on their money, anyone sitting on 10,000 can be a lender. A lender is someone who has money and they lend it out to someone for a period of time with hopes to make a return on their money. So it's anyone that you know. I've converted like friends that I've worked with to becoming lenders, persons from high school that I've seen my stuff on Facebook. I've converted them into being a lender because then I came from a place of educating, of showing the benefits of how persons can make passive income if they become the bank. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I'm actually sitting on money. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that I could invest money using my self-directed IRA. I didn't know I can use money that I have sitting on in my personal saving. I thought I needed 100,000. No, you have 20,000, 10,000. You can invest.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
What a mindset shift.
Yeah.
Look, I know we're not accountants and I know we're not lawyers, but I do have to ask, and I want to ask, like, how regulation heavy is this? Someone who's maybe either looking at doing the lending or at doing do they need to look into regulations in a really big way? Or maybe could you just give us some pointers on that?
So I got to be super careful. So yeah, for me who is raising capital for other people, yes, I am very careful. So I consult an attorney for certain things that I say, certain things that I post on social media. But let's say, for example, you just want to raise money for your personal deals and you're within a community. And these are things, guys, that I've learned. Consult your attorney as well. Let's say you're in your co-living community and you want $10,000 for 6 months. It is okay to post it in there because then they're going to assume, SEC is going to assume that you guys are in the same network. You're in a community of people, you had to join a group or whatnot. If you post on your Facebook, if let's say your Facebook is private and someone has to accept you have to accept that friend request. You can post because they're part of your circle. Now, would I go on social media and post in my story, I need $30,000 for 6 months at 12%? No, because then I'm publicly advertising.
Right. Got it.
So that I wouldn't do. And then another thing too is like if you're just raising capital for your personal deals and you reach out to a lender, I would say yes, consult an attorney as well to draft the paperwork. Draft paperwork meaning the promissory note, the deed of trust. If you're doing a personal guarantee, do not go on Google and look for those standard documents and edit them yourself. Just
What about ChatGPT?
ChatGPT, which I recently figured out ChatGPT can do that, and I tested out, super detailed. But just go with an attorney and be like, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to borrow this person's money, and I just want to make sure their money is protected. Can you draft the promissory note and the deed of trust? And that attorney is going to ask you for the terms, and they'll guide you for how to structure it as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. So beautiful. I love it. I love the creativity of this conversation and just even how you're getting my brain to open up to other ways to scale even faster. It's really beautiful. I want to talk a little bit about, okay, before I asked you that question, we were kind of going into the lending side of things. If I'm the person that wants to lend out, and we'll wrap up in the next few minutes here, but a couple more questions. If I'm a person that wants to be the lender, I have some extra cash. Maybe I don't want to go on real estate, but I do, but I want to have someone that really runs the day to day, and I just want to be more silent. What are some things that I should consider as the lender before investing in a deal? And I want to bring the listeners' attention. The reason I know you're going to give a good answer to this is because earlier in this conversation, you said sometimes when you do pitch decks, you then go sit in the chair as if you were the person receiving that, as if you were the lender, and say, oh, how would a lender think about this? Which I think is really wise. And it's such a great point that I hope people picked up on. But anyway, back
definitely. To you. I would say if I'm the lender and this is my first time lending, one thing I would ask myself, what's my risk tolerance? What does that mean? Am I a high risk taker or a low risk taker? Low risk meaning, I have $50,000, but I want to start off with 10,000 and I want to lend for 6 months. I don't want to lend for 24 months. I want to get my feet wet, see how the borrower perform. Or you might be like, I only want to lend in my backyard. I only want to lend in Florida. I don't want to lend in California or Vegas because I'm not familiar with those states. Like, these are simple questions to ask yourself. Then you ask yourself, okay, do I want to lend on with certain exit strategies? What does that mean? Do I want to lend to persons who are renovating property? Because you hear the notion of, properties, when you renovate them, they sit on the market for a long time. Are you comfortable with that? Do you only want to lend on properties that the investor is only using for long-term rentals, right? Because it's safer, you feel more comfortable, the rental income is way more consistent. And I love asking lenders this question. Hey, if you give me this $20,000, I said it earlier, if you give me this $20,000 and you lose it, will you be okay? And if they're like, no, and I'm like, don't lend. Like, the moment you're like, no, I'm not going to be okay, I won't be able to pay my bills, don't lend. Do not lend at all. And also, you want to be able to understand what a good deal looks like. Now, not because an investor is giving you a higher return, meaning 20,000 for 6 months at 25%, mean it's a good deal. You have to be able to see, is this something worth me investing in? Am I lending on a deal that the debt, which is the amount owed, is greater than what the property is actually worth? So you have to be able to understand that. Now you might be like, oh my gosh, I don't know, Kalisha, how do I know that? I literally did a video that I showed my private money lenders. It's on my YouTube, how to do a napkin underwrite. And it's me on a Zoom,
a napkin underwrite.
A napkin underwrite.
And if my team could link that video in the description, that'd be awesome.
Oh man, like, it broke down. So I was working out the math with lenders, without using a calculator, to be like, if someone asks you for X amount of money for certain terms, here are the questions that you need to ask. Here's how you work the numbers to see if is this borrower over leveraging? Because I've seen deals where the debt is way more than what the property is worth. What does that mean? They owe $200,000 on a house that's only worth $150,000. So if a lender comes in and lends $100,000, like, how does it show that property is going to repay the lender their money back? So you want to make sure you have enough margin. So where if the debt is 150 and the properties were, let's say, 250. So there's 100,000 spread. So worst case scenario, a lender going in with 50,000, they can pull their money out of that deal. So those are the main, without even getting complicated. Know what a good deal looks like. If you lose this money, will you be okay? Do you only want to lend in your backyard, or are you okay lending in any states across the US? What is your risk tolerance? Are you like that person who'd be like, man, I want to invest more money so I can make a higher return, or no, I want to start slowly and get my feet wet. And then you start connecting with persons who, local investors who are doing it, get an idea of what type of projects that they're doing, what amount of money they usually need, how long they need it for, and start building those relationships with your borrowers.
Well said. Anybody listening to that should have just been taking notes and creating a nice little list that you created.
They're going to have to rewatch it or re-listen it.
Yeah, rewind that, watch that a couple times, make a list.
Yeah.
I have two more questions for you, and then we're going to wrap up. One, I want you to talk a little bit about like how you secure. So again, coming from the lender's side, say I'm lending you money, Kalisha. And one of the questions that I might ask and that I want you to educate people on a little bit is, hey, what kind of, let's take a real estate deal specifically. You know, am I going to be on the LLC that owns the property? Am I going to get a first lien on the property? Am I going to get a second lien on the property? Am I going to get a third lien on the property? Could you just educate people a little bit about that space? Again, from a lender's standpoint, kind of what those things mean and maybe what I should be looking for as a lender.
Perfect. So I want to address the lien situation. So as a lender, you would hear about first lien and second lien, right? A first lien is the person who's bringing more money to the table. So let's say a project costs 200,000 and the first lien holder may be like, hey, out of the 200,000, I'm going to give you 150. And then the borrower still needs $50,000. So whoever comes in with 50 is going to be in second lien. First lien, you're lending majority of the funds, but it also means if things go south or if that property is sold, whoever is in first lien gets paid out first. Whoever is in second lien carrying a lower risk, but they also get paid out last, right? So if that deal is selling for, let's say it's a 200 of debt on it, 150 in the first lien, 50 in the second. If they sell that property for 150, the first lien gets paid off first. And then the second lien is like, oh, how do I get my money back? So that's one of the risks when it comes on the second lien. So you got to know which lien position are you comfortable with and how much you're willing to give for that project to be in a certain lien position. Now, as it relates to paperwork, one of my non-negotiables is that we always do a promissory note. The promissory note will usually outline the borrower name, the lender name, how much money you're borrowing, for how long, what interest rate, what are the terms? Do you agree to pay monthly payment? If you're late, what will be the fee? Is there a late fee per day? Is there a late extension? Do you get a grace period? That's your promissory note, right? That's usually signed, notarized, wet signature, okay? Then you have the mortgage. The mortgage is, for me, is the most important document, reason being because that document is the one that's usually publicly recorded. So you want to make sure the same terms that are on your promissory note are also on your mortgage. What does that mean? Why a mortgage? Why is it publicly recorded? Because God forbid, let's say, knock on wood, if I die, let's say I borrow $50,000 from a lender and I die, that lender want to get their $50,000 back. If that house is sold, they're going to see that there's a $50,000 lien on that property. And that lender can get paid their $50,000. So think about it when you're selling a house and there's a tax lien or HOA lien, you have to pay off all those liens. You have to pay off all those taxes before you get any remainder of the net proceeds when you sell a house. So promissory note, deed of trust, sometimes is what you don't have to know how to complete those paperwork. Go to an attorney. If your lending and title company is involved, ask the title company if their closing attorney can draft those paperwork as well. Reviewing it, if you're still not clear, ask the title company, hey, can you just go over this paperwork with me? Or can the attorney go over the paperwork with me so I understand? Or you can actually consult your attorney. I've had lenders who are like, Kalisha, I want to use my attorney. The borrower will pay the documents because the attorney knows how to protect me. And most times the borrowers are okay using that lender's attorney as well.
So first lien position is obviously a safer bet because you're going to get paid off first. Yeah. How important, I know I said 2 last questions, but I might make it 3. Right. How important is getting a personal guarantee? So let's say I'm going to lend you money for a real estate deal. And I'm like, hey, Kalisha, I want you to sign personally that even if the deal goes south, you're going to take from your W-2, you're going to take from your other things and pay me off. How important is that? Do you think it's not important? Is that something? Yeah, just like,
I mean, in my opinion, like before, I think it was super important. And then I kept seeing scenarios where a person will sign a personal guarantee, but they still file for bankruptcy or they still go MIA. And I'm like, how do you still pay the money, right? And some I've seen investors as well where nothing is tied to their personal name. They have so many different entities, right? So their assets are spread over and they've kind of secured their corporate structure so tight. You're like, sign a personal guarantee. He doesn't have crap to his name, right? So I was good, with personal, I'm always all for it. But now I'm like, I don't really push it as much. I push more of the mortgage. And I push, if worst case scenario, you die, what happens? Can you take ownership of the property? If the borrower is late for a certain time, okay, we're going to put in a loan extension fee and you got to pay that up front. So we're planning for plan A, B, C, D. Plan A, if you're late, plan B, you get a grace period of 3 days. If after 3 days, you pay a late fee and you're only allowed 1 month loan extension, that leads up to, and we put the date. And we put 30 days from the 3-day grace period. And then if the 30-day grace period comes up, okay, the next thing is that we can take ownership of this asset. So we put all those things and you're signing to it. So so I don't want to go through courts and all those stuff. I want to make it easier for the lender. Worst case scenario, you have to foreclose, and that sucks sometimes. But if we can put things in writing to mitigate some of those risks, I would love to do that. But personal guarantee, if lenders ask for it and they're like, adamant, Kalisha, I want the personal guarantee, fine. But I always give them my opinion about the personal guarantee as well. And if they still need it, we get it done. But I always tell them, like, let's put some effort into your mortgage. I want that to be so tight. Whereas worst case scenario, you can pull your money out of the deal without foreclosure and all those stuff.
All right, Kalisha, last question for you. Thank you for your wisdom today. Thank you for breaking things down with such great, simple examples too. I think that's a really great way that you communicate, and I know the listeners will appreciate that. So what I really want to ask you is, look, I know you've got a little bit of experience with co-living, but what do you think about co-living? Would you lend private money on co-living? Like, what do you think of that model? Obviously, a lot of my audience is sold out for this. We believe we're solving affordable housing. We're helping people. But I want to know your thoughts on it.
Honestly, at first I was like, no. But then I got into it last year, and as the market keeps changing, I'm realizing there's a high demand for it. So if you see an opportunity where you can split up rooms, like your market shows that, hey, co-living is a thing, I can do it here, do it. Personally, for me with lending, I still see it as still a good opportunity to raise capital for, to lend on, because it increases your chance for your rental income. Whereas if you rent a house for a 3-bedroom house and you can only make $1,000, but if you do a rent by the room, it can double or triple your income as well. I think it's a great opportunity to do it. You have lenders who actually prefer to invest in co-living because they also want to grow their portfolio. So it's a great opportunity as well to give equity in some of those deals. Personally, I don't like managing rent by the room because you're dealing with different tenants. But I found if you have a system and you have a team in place, then you're fine. Like if you just know what your strengths are, what your weakness, what you're willing to do, and you can still make it work. And I love the fact that it helps to reduce your vacancy. So if when you have a house, if it's not rented, you lose everything. But if maybe 1 or 2 beds are not occupied, you still got money coming in. And there's other opportunities within the co-living space for you to make money. Maybe it's doing laundry, we're doing coin laundry or storage rooms. There's so many opportunities there. So highly, highly recommend it.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it from Kalisha Carter herself. Thank you so much for this episode. It was really great to get to know you through this. Thank you for your wisdom. And just, it's obvious from how you explain things that you really, really, really know your stuff. How do people reach out to you? How do they follow you? What's the best way for them to connect with you or even get involved in your coaching if they're interested?
The best way to reach out to me is Instagram and LinkedIn at Kalisha Carter. I mean, I'm on Facebook as well, but like, don't message me on Facebook. Sometimes it get lost. But the best way is always Instagram, LinkedIn as well. And my coaching, the free coaching on School, it's in my bio. It's Kalisha Carter Group, or you can just go on the School app and look Kalisha Carter Group. We do a weekly Zoom every week, just talking about raising capital, being a connector, where you know someone who has a deal, you know someone who has capital as well. And it's a space for you to ask questions when it comes on to raising private money. And I'm there to answer it that way. Instead of me doing a bunch of one-on-one phone calls, I'm like, here you are. Let's all be in one space so everyone can benefit from the responses.
You're amazing. It's great. Shows your heart. Kalisha, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right. I hope that didn't disappoint. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Thank you so much for being a Scale Your Real Estate fan. Please continue to share this episode with other people, share our episodes, share our vision that we have for the world of, accelerating co-living, building co-living with community, and doing it in a way that solves affordable housing. Thank you for your love and support. We'll see you guys on the next episode.